Friends, meet the new Zeekr 9X. This is the first hybrid car from Zeekr brand, and look how amazing it is. Chinese press call it the Cullinan from Hangzhou Bay, the Rolls-Royce model from the place where Zeekr R&D and production is located. I had the chance to make the review of this car about 1 month ago when it actually entered the market, but that would be just a short acquaintance with that car. So finally I decided to wait until our customer ordered this car, the car arrived, and the customer allowed me to make the driving in-deep test of this particular car. This is the Ultra version with the optional 70 kWh battery. For today I've been driving it for already 3 days, and the car is really amazing. Nevertheless, I have found 5 disadvantages, more or less subjective, but today I will tell you about them. Of course, as always, we have the technical in-depth review. I will tell you about the versions of this car, we will perform a test drive, and of course I will tell you the prices of this car in China. Stay tuned at my channel, Dennis Cars Lover. We start with the body and its dimensions, and it is a huge car. The total length is 5,239 millimeters, the wheelbase is 3,169 millimeters, and the width of the car is more than 2 meters, actually almost 2.1. This is the approximate same size as Denza M9, as Aita M9, but it's a little bit bigger than, for example, Lixiang L9. At the same time, the body is made of high strength, formed at high pressure steel. At least 10 parts of the steel crate of the body made of the steel pressed at more than 2000 megapascals. Of course, mostly it's the crate which is extremely important for the safety, but the front part of the car and the rear part is made of aluminum alloy, first of all to absorb the energy from deformation while the accident, and secondly, this is the single piece formed part, same as Tesla does, as Xiaopeng does, which is of course good for speed of production, which is good for body rigidity, and of course good for cost effectiveness, but at the same time, in case of accident, actually it's pretty difficult or sometimes impossible to renovate. Despite a lot of aluminum in the construction, actually even the door panels, they are made of aluminum. Here we have steel with thin coating, this fender. Both doors we have aluminum. Here we have aluminum alloy, and this front huge hood is also aluminum alloy. By the way, the total square is more than 2.1 square meters. The carb weight of this car is still pretty enormous. The basic version is 2,870 kilos, but the top version is 3,180 kilos, so more than 3 tons of carb weight, and the full loaded mass only of the basic version is lower than 3,500 kilos. The top version is 3,600 kilos already, which means that in many countries you will need to have the light truck driver license. Under the hood we have 2.0 turbocharged engine with the power output of 278 horsepower. The Newton meter, the torque of this motor, actually I don't know, it's not mentioned in the sources I looked for, and I realize probably why. That is because despite this car is a parallel hybrid, it means that the internal combustion engine can actually rotate the wheels. The philosophy of this car is still being an EV, and only in some extraordinary cases use the ICE for direct moving of the wheels. For that purpose, being primarily an EV car, Zeekr did a lot. First of all, this is a 900 volts platform. This is the only hybrid car which I know with 900 volts platform. The actual voltage of the battery is 787 volts. The battery is of the latest generation, developed by the CATL, produced together with the CATL and Geely in a joint venture. This battery supports the 6C charging coefficient, which means that charging from 20 to 90% will take only about 9 minutes. There are 2 battery options, the 55.1 kilowatt hours and the 70 kilowatt hours, which is enormously big for a hybrid car. The CLTC range with different batteries and motors can vary from 300 kilometers up to 380 by CLTC. By WLTC, I assume it will be about 200 to 250 kilometers. Of course, depends on how you drive. The internal combustion engine, together with the motor generator, can charge this battery from 30% to 90% while driving at 120 kph just in 90 minutes. It means it's really a powerful generator because at the same time it will force the car to drive, and at the same time it will charge the battery. Battery is NMC chemistry with liquid cooling and heating. Here we have the charging port, single phase AC charge which can take up to 7 kilowatts, and the DC charge. Of course, all versions feature V2L. Actually, this car features something I've never heard before, the V2L, but DC V2L. Up to 60 kilowatts of output power. It means you can use your Zeekr to fast charge another hybrid or EV car. That is something incredible. Several words about the transmission. I remember that while reading information before the car actually came out to the market, there was something about 3DHT, so 3-speed dedicated hybrid transmission, same as, for example, Geely Galaxy L7 use, which we made video on our channel, the cheap hybrid car from the same concern. But finally, we have the single-speed DHT here, which is pretty simple transmission, which is probably has just one clutch, the integrated motor generator, and that's all. Power and acceleration. The power on the wheels basically come out of the electric motors. We have two versions of this car in technical meaning. We have dual motors version and we have triple motors version. The slowest car is the dual motor version with the biggest 70 kilowatt hours battery. Basically, this is what we have today in front of us. In this case, the acceleration from 0 to 100 will take 4.1 seconds. In real life, it feels a little bit faster. That speed, by the way, the top speed is 240 kilometers per hour. That speed and power comes from 898 horsepower and more than 900 Newton meters of torque only from the electric motors. We are not talking about the ICE motors. And the Hyper version, which actually hasn't been delivered to the customers yet, has 1,401 horsepower and more than 1,400 Newton meters of torque, thanks to the dual motor rear axle. Here will be two motors, but in our car we have just single motor. In that configuration, the car can accelerate from 0 to 100 just in 3.1 seconds, which probably makes this car ratio of the size to weight to acceleration from 0 to 100 one of the world record for today. One more curious fact: this car doesn't have the rear axle steered wheels, despite some competitors like Denza and 9 has it, giving some magical feeling of the car turnings, especially at the parking lots. Actually, in this class of car, in this size of car, it would be appropriate to have this function, despite here the turning angle of the front wheels is pretty nice. But the most curious thing is that Lynk & Co 900, the car from the same concern, the car of a pretty similar specification, the car of the same market segment, actually has the rear turning axle, up to 10 degrees each wheel. But that is a different platform, despite it is the same concern. And why the 9X doesn't have this turning rear wheels, I personally don't know. Now it's time to talk about the different trim levels of this car. Basically, we have three of them. The first one, the basic one, is called Max. Then we have the Ultra, and then we have the Hyper. We also have the fourth one, but it is also Hyper, just with different color scheme inside and outside, a little bit more expensive, but technically and in terms of equipment is exactly the same. So we will talk about the 3-1. And the most amazing about all this car is actually its price. The basic version, the Max version, which already has almost everything, to be honest, costs about $65,000 in the showroom. The version Ultra, which a little bit better equipped, costs only about 70,000 United States dollars based on the today's exchange rate. And the Hyper version costs about 80,000 United States dollars. You probably understand that in the USA, in Europe, any car of this size, of this equipment level, of this sophistication, of the interior, which we will show you later, and of this technology will cost at least 3 times more than that. I still can't believe in the price of this car. Now it's time to briefly describe the differences between the trim levels. In the basic version, in the Max version, you will have almost everything which you have in the basic, Ultra and Hyper versions in terms of equipment. You will not have these 22-inch forged wheels. By the way, the forged wheels from factory is a pretty rare option. Even the Xiaomi SU7 Ultra doesn't have the forged wheels from the factory, only as an optional equipment. Here we have the 6-piston brakes, which are, as I understand, in all the versions. In the basic version, you will have 21-inch wheels, not forged. These pixel headlights are by default in all the versions except the basic one. In the basic one, you have still the matrix headlight with 42,242 matrix pixels. But in all other cars, starting from the Ultra, you have 1.3 million pixels, which actually could make the projection of 150 inches of the diagonal, which actually can show you the movie on the wall. We will show you right now about that. And this is what the lightings with 1.3 million of pixels can. We go into the app, which is actually called Light Show, and we have different modes. For example, this Canon Rock, which is basically lightning. We also have this beautiful Phoenix, like this. We can also draw anything we want. Like this. And we also have some settings, but I couldn't find the settings of the position of this projection, so it's just wall or floor setting. That all I found here. The other significant difference is the autopilot system. In the Max and Ultra version, we have the Tor-U 7H autopilot system with the single LiDAR, which is 192 lines of perception, with the single NVIDIA Tor-U drive chip, whatever, which is 700 trillion operations per second. But starting from the Hyper version, we will have 5 LiDARs. The main LiDAR will be not 192, but more than 500 lines of perception. We will have the 2 NVIDIA chips with total operating power of 1400 trillion operations per second. This car has definitely the wow effect from appearance, and in my opinion, it's the most interesting looking car on the market for today in its market segment. But inside, I think it's definitely the best interior on the market. Just look at this. A lot of premium materials, premium leather, premium wood. This is natural wood panels. Here we have the aluminum stripes. Everywhere where you see this kind of material, almost everywhere, this is aluminum. Almost everywhere you touch, everything is soft, everything is perfectly fitted. We have the 16 million colors of the ambient light, but actually it's 256,000, just they multiplied by the different color saturation and made the 16 million. We have the microfiber here, we have soft covering here, we have microfiber here, and we have this audio system from Nime, which costs 60,000 RMB. 60,000 RMB is about 9,000 United States dollars. This is optional audio system, but today they give it for free. But do you have chance not to pay for it? Yeah, you should not pay for it now, but do you have chance not to get the premium name audio system? No, because it's the only audio system which pretends to be optional, which is still for free, so it's just a marketing move. There is no any alternative to this audio system. And now I would like to tell you the 2 disadvantages. The first 2 disadvantages I found for myself in this car. First of all, here we have kind of glove box. Actually, the car has 45 storage spaces in the interior and it will be opened like that. But here we have the button which opens and closes the door. The doors have electric drive. It costs about $1,500, but again, for now, it's for free. Basically, you will not find the Zeekr 9X without the electric drive of the doors, which works pretty good. So my problem here is that I constantly, from the first day, confuse these 2 buttons. If I don't look on them, if I don't concentrate, I really confuse them. And in my opinion, it's not exactly my fault. In my opinion, this is just confusing ergonomy. But it's small problem. The other thing is that this amazingly looking audio system, which has 32 speakers, which covers from 20 Hz to 40,000 Hz, which has power more than 3,000 watts, actually sounds not so good as I expected. In my personal opinion, the audio system in BMW iX3 from Harman Kardon, which is way more simple, sounds finally better. If you have a car like this or experience while sitting in this car listening to this audio system, please leave a comment. Is it my problem of perception, or you also didn't like this amazingly looking audio system? Interior is extremely perfect. The super nice materials, the soft Napa leather feels amazing. The 12 layers design of the seats and 22 points massage. This is the best massage in an automobile which I ever experienced. It's basically very close to the special dedicated massage chairs. Of course, the active lumbar support, some kind of support for the knees, everything we have here, heating, ventilation, heating of the steering wheel. This is by default in this car. And generally, I don't don't know anything bad to say about this interior. These two screens are optionals. This is 16.3 inches one, 16.3 inches of diagonal another. If you don't want to have one more screen for the passenger, you just save about 800 United States dollars. We have pretty many physical buttons. We have the normal gauges. We have Alcantara on the wireless charger slot for two mobile phones, fast charging. We have this natural wood trim. We have this this feels like aluminum, but here I am honestly not sure. Again, physical buttons on the steering wheel. Everything is extremely perfect, beautiful and comfortable right here. We all understand that this car is designed mainly for passengers. We open this huge door. This is the record door gap, which is more than 1.1 meter. And the angle of opening is 90 degrees, which is unbelievable. Probably the only car I know with such angle of opening. When we sit inside, I don't know from what even start to tell you about everything we have here. Here, for example, we have the sunshades with electric drive. Well, basically even Zeekr 7X has it, but nevertheless. Here we have the same level of the trim and materials as for the front passengers. We also have this glove box and so on. We also have this button for the steering of the basically TV, which moves on this transporter module here, which can be closed like that. This is 17-inch screen with super high resolution. The idea of moving here is that it can be used for the third row seaters, for the second row seaters, and at the same time it can be just moved to the back, not to cover this huge openable panoramic sunroof. We have all possible methods of adjustment of these chairs. Of course, we have massage, heating, ventilation, same as in the front. Even more, we have this screen, which is basically a tablet, a mobile phone kind tablet, which you can take off, which has extremely nice finishing, with also the wood finishing, which feels like an expensive mobile phone, from which you can basically do everything, starting from the climate to the seat position, seat adjustment, and so on. Here we have the thermo box from -6 to +50 degrees, and also we have the remote TV control, which also has amazing finishing. As you see, some soft inserts, and this part is actually made of metal and it's pretty heavy. Despite we can adjust everything from this screen, we also have the physical control button module. And now we go to 2 points in this interior for the second row, which I personally think are not the best and which are kind of disadvantages for me. First of all, you have this table, but only for the right side passenger. No problem, it's convenient, but as you see, it's shaking even from the smallest finger. So for someone who is sitting here, when you will be using it, it will be not nice. So it's kind of compromise, but nevertheless, it's a nice feature. But the next maybe biggest problem and biggest compromise here is like that. I will use now a button to make the zero gravity seat by the single touch. Look what will happen. Despite this car is almost 5.3 meters of length, actually it's not still a full lying position. Actually, with my height of 1.78 meters, I still touch the front seat. The front seat already cannot be used. I'm not sure that someone would like to travel in this position. The right side rear view side mirror is completely blocked by the front seat. Yes, it's pretty comfortable. Yes, it's still convenient to watch the TV when it is in the front position, but still it's a compromise. To make the full lying business class lounge, this car should have at least plus 30 centimeters of the wheelbase. But in all other aspects, everything is super fine. Don't think that the features of the second row finished. We also have this rotating feature of the seat, which is steered by these buttons in this part of the door. This should be used somehow like that, as in the Zeekr Mix, which we made a video before. In Zeekr Mix, it's said to use for fishing. I'm not sure for what it's used for, but this is kind of still all the adjustment workable, so like that. But we go further. This car has even more from Zeekr Mix than you could expect it. We go to the seat menu, seat comfort, but we need the versatile seat, and we have different modes with the animation. How will the result look like? We will use now the dual recline mode. We will activate it. Next step, I already opened the rear doors, and next step, and now the car will kick me out of itself. Yeah, I should go out. Now we have the second row vis-a-vis to the third row. The first row is completely unusable, and even to reset to the original position I have to do it somewhere from here, which is not actually super convenient. Zeekr claims that we should use it either for family occasions, family events, which I totally accept, or for some business meetings, which will completely be unacceptable because you will not sit with your business partners in this way. It's not enough space for the legs, not enough space for the knees. So as usual, this is a compromise, because to make it perfectly without compromising, you would have to extend the wheelbase of this car at least about 30 centimeters. And yes, in Zeekr Mix with only 2 rows of the seats, this function made much better. The third row is amazing here. The floor is enough low. This is the original position of the second row seat. I have enough space in front of my knees. I have 3-position heating of the seat. I have my own panoramic sunroof with sunshade right here, which is extremely nice. I have also the steering of the third row with moving front and back and adjusting the angle of the seat cushion. I have the speakerphone system. If I turn it on, basically my voice is in all the speakers and I can talk to the driver. First time I experienced a feature like this. It's convenient, it's a lot of space over my head. This is nice third row, like in a good MPV. Trunk, this is the kind you can open it, the upper part of the tailgate, the lower part of the tailgate. Here it can hold up to 300 kilograms. In this configuration with the third seat unfolded, of course it's small trunk, but it's normal for this size of the car. It's not 6.3 meters, just 5.3. It's 470 liters. I assume it's actually even smaller. Here we have the 220 volt socket, and of course the cluster of the steering of the third row seats, which are electrically folded, unfolded without any manual interference from my side. Like this, in the biggest configuration, the biggest volume is 2148 liters. We will show you the infography of this trunk in about different configurations on your screens. And of course, here we have the adjustment of the rear air suspension. We can lower it or upper it. When we need to load something, we will definitely make it lower. Let's check the ground clearance under the front suspension. Now the car is in the highest position. It's 244 millimeters under the front plastic protection. Here we can see the aluminum suspension arms, the double wishbone upper arm. Here we can see also the front casting massive element of the body, same as now many manufacturers like Tesla do. Here we see the 2-chamber air suspension strut and the other massive aluminum arms. It looks all like that. Of course, the brakes are also very massive. From what I see, it's 4 pistons. No, it's 6 pistons brakes, as I see. Under the middle part of the car, it's 163 millimeters, but the surface where the car standing is actually not super flat, so I assume it should be a little bit more. Here we have the battery. It looks like a battery in EV car. It's so huge, it's 70 kilowatt hours. Everything looks very fine, protected and premium quality. At the rear part, I decided to measure ground clearance under this suspension arm. It's 149 millimeters, but under the rear motor it's much bigger. I think it's more than 250 millimeters. We see that the rear subframe is aluminum casting. We also see that here we have the normal stabilizer bar, not the 48 volts electronic stabilizer. And we also see this exhaust system, and here it's distribution for air suspension, as I see. But the receiver I couldn't find. Probably it's hidden somewhere in another place, or maybe actually it's hidden somewhere over the exhaust. We are now driving a really bad road, and this car in terms of suspension is truly amazing. The best in its segment. I've driven the Denza N9, I've driven the Lishan L9. This car, in my opinion, feels much better. And this car doesn't have the active 48 volts stabilizer bars. This is just basic metal stabilizers. Still, it works extremely nice. It doesn't give you much rolling effect, and it is super comfortable and quiet on this tarmac, which is currently, as you see, of very bad quality. Generally, how this car deals with the road imperfections is much better than, for example, Denza N9. But to the sound insulation, I have several questions. I really hear the tires, I really hear the outer world much more than, for example, in Denza N9. But at the same time, the suspension here by itself works more quiet. So basically we can say that sound insulation is not actually sufficient, is not up to this category of the car. Now I'm entering the roundabout, and surprisingly this car is totally under control, totally not rolling. Really amazing, much better than N9, than many bigger SUVs. Feels very organic driving, feels very gathered car. Extremely good, but still I really hear the tires surprisingly loud. Why the sound insulation is so not sufficient, I have no any idea. Curious fact is that the philosophy of working of this hybrid car is completely different from BYD cars. I've been driving for 3 days, and even once the internal combustion engine hasn't started. It means that this car always uses battery and electric motors, at least until it can. It doesn't help to accelerate in sport mode using the ICE motor, like BYD, all models of BYD does. Here it's more like an electric car with reserved ICE. One more disadvantage here is that the car is extremely wide, and the mirrors, the side mirrors, they are moved back to the car, so closer to the driver. That's why, to look at the right mirror, I have to turn head pretty much. At the same time, this is compensated by the HUD, which is huge, like 50 inches plus projection, which has the color mirror projection, the colored mirror picture as well. I will show you right now on the video. And if talk about energy consumption, we have 0 liters per 100 kilometers, because probably in this car with total mileage of 61 kilometers, the internal combustion engine maybe never started. But the electric energy consumption is 33.4 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which is actually understandable because we are driving in a pretty fast mode, in a test drive mode. So even with this energy consumption, probably it's close to maximum in the city, which you can achieve, you still can drive around 200 kilometers. We are now in the port of Shanghai, where this Zeekr 9X, as well as the car from the video, will be loaded into the container and shipped to their new owners. As a result of my review, I must say that this car is actually amazing. It gives you much more than it actually costs. The interior, the handling habits are literally perfect. There are some small disadvantages like the sound insulation, but they are really small. In general, we say that this is a very successful example of Zeekr engineering. If you want to order such car to your country, contact me, all the information below this video, and of course I will ask you to push the like button, to subscribe to my channel, and to leave a comment.